Hello, everyone. Welcome to the You+AI Vodcast. I'm your host, Ranga Sampath. Today, I have with me Prashant Natarajan. I just finished recording a podcast with him where we talked about AI in the healthcare enterprise. He gave very insightful ideas on what is data, what does it mean inside a healthcare enterprise, and how would you start your journey if you were to use AI, start using AI in the healthcare enterprise. So I would highly recommend this audience to go to you+AI.com or in your favorite podcast app to go and listen to this You+AI podcast episode with Prashant Natarajan. With that, I welcome Prashant. Prashant, welcome, and please introduce yourself to our audience.
Thank you, Ranga. That was such a delightful conversation. So, by the way of a quick and brief introduction, I am an executive who works at the intersection of business, technology, and human creation and consumption of data, analytics, AI, cloud, etc.
Mhm.
I also am enthusiastic and passionate about sharing and building a community of like and sometimes unlike minded individuals so that we can further the cause of health and wellness, which is all the more relevant today as we are in the middle of a pandemic than ever before. I am also a best selling author, have written a few books, both in healthcare and outside of healthcare. And the healthcare specific books are focused on the use of big data and machine learning,
Mm,
also the use of technology in cancer,
mm.
and back in the day, more of business intelligence. And my next books are on digital transformation and bringing AI to life to benefit everyone.
Well, thank you, Prashant. I love that introduction. And I'm sure our audience will want to tap into your podcast to see what they can get. Sure. Okay, now let's move on to the fun segments. So, again, these are some fun segments. There's no right or wrong answer, it's just your perspective. So, the first segment, I call it true or false. I give you a statement and ask you if it's true or false, and you can comment whether it is true or
Okay.
false and give your reason why, right? So, here's your statement. The reason why most AI projects in enterprises fail is because there simply isn't enough quality data. True or false?
False.
And
False.
why?
Because there is enough data. And the reason is first, we are in not as we are not in a situation today where there's the dearth of data,
Mm,
right? In fact, if anything, I think we need to expand the amount of data and bring more data in. But that itself doesn't mean that there's not enough.
mm,
Second is we have been using that data to provide patient care. And to assume somehow that that was not good enough for patient care, but it can be used in AI, it's a contradiction of terms.
mm,
If it's good enough to treat a patient, it should be good enough to use it to drive AI.
mm.
Right? Now, does that mean that we can't make it better? Of course, we can make it better, but you use the important concept of data fidelity to make it better. Don't admire the problem, create the solution.
Lovely, lovely. Love that quote. Thanks, Prashant. So now we move into our next segment. I call this fill in the blanks. And here I give you a sentence and I say dash dash. And you can fill in the blanks with one word, two words, or a sentence, phrase, whatever. Right? So here's your fill in the blanks. One way to accelerate the adoption of AI in healthcare would be to dash.
Bring the best technology to bear, and most importantly, focus on change management to make it usable and repeatable.
Hmm. Hmm. So focus on change management, because it's obviously bringing this as a change, is what you're saying. Any kind of enterprise, specifically the healthcare enterprise. Sure, great, great.
Exactly, because I think anytime we are in a new scenario, change becomes the most important thing. And we have to address that proactively.
Right, right. Thank you. Thank you. Amazing. Next, there's a fun section. I call it a tweet saves the day. Now, I know you're on Twitter. You're a fairly active Twitter user. You share your insights and all that. And I'll put in your handle in the show notes. So here's the scenario for you. And at the end of it, I'm going to ask, what will you tweet? Okay. So here's a tweet saves the day. Here's the scenario. AI has been deployed in the emergency room of a hospital to triage patients to arrive at who needs the most urgent care. Lately, however, there have been some adverse outcomes. That is, a few patients who needed the most care were not flagged by the AI system at the right time. As a consequence, this has raised questions on the efficacy and use of AI, and there are those who strongly advocate that AI must be completely removed from the emergency room. As a voice of reason, you are called and asked to weigh in on this situation. What would you tweet?
What I would tweet is this is a binary choice that doesn't serve clinicians, it doesn't serve patients,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't serve the cause of furthering medicine and care.
Mm-hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
would be my first tweet. My
Right.
second follow up tweet would be look into the reasons why the AI did not act as optimally as it did.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you used the wrong data. Maybe you didn't update your model. You didn't account for data drift and concept drift and other things that are super important. And maybe you just don't know enough your models that they are either
Mm.
interpretable or explainable.
Mm.
So don't blame the technology, which is always the first thing that can sometimes happen. Take a look at your own human practices, process practices, and fix those first.
Thank you. Thank you. That's certainly something. And as you said, the way to succeed in Twitter is to write a Twitter thread. So I think you're right on point. First tweet, second tweet, third tweet, write a thread, and I think people will listen to you. So thank you, Prashant. That was fun. That was fun to get your insights into these scenarios. So thank you so much for being on the You+AI podcast. And I would like to remind our users again that I just finished a podcast with Prashant Natarajan. We talked extensively about AI in the healthcare enterprise. So please go to you+AI.com or wherever you get your podcast from, the apps from where you listen to your podcast, and do check out this episode. Thank you once again, Prashant Natarajan, for being on the You+AI podcast.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share with your global audience.
Thank you.